Ben. I wanted to ask you about scheduling. John Calipari's starting over, of course, like he always does, and he's kind of the second guess the schedule he put together. And I'm wondering about your schedule. You were sort of starting over also. Did you? How much did that factor into the scheduling? The idea of building player confidence and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah, you know what? We had 4 games leading up on our schedule originally to get ready to play down in Florida against a very good Clemson team and then either Liberty or Purdue. We didn't play in those games, but we didn't pull out of the tournament. I still felt it was going to be important for us to play against some good competition, which I think has helped us. Even though, we didn't have Iverson Molinar for our first 3 games, and that was very critical during the beginning of the season at that juncture with so many young, new players. But, scheduling got definitely sideways for everybody when you consider the pandemic. And, we had Utah State scheduled for December 21st. They called us November 24th and said, hey, we're out. So we're having to scramble to find a game, 3 weeks later. And, we originally were supposed to play Minnesota on December 16th, but because of the pandemic, both schools just agreed to push it back a year because of the testing procedures of the Big Ten versus our league, et cetera. So we still played a pretty competitive schedule with Dayton and with North Texas and with Clemson and Liberty, but not even close to what Kentucky did. I mean, they probably played the toughest schedule in the country. When you look at their opponents, they played an ACC schedule with at least 4 teams on it. I mean, they played a brutal schedule against, the Kansases, the Louisvilles, and they Carolina. I mean, they played an unbelievable schedule. It was very difficult and had a great chance to win against Kansas and Louisville when you watch those games. I mean, it's anybody's game with a minute to go.
Jerry, do you have a follow-up, or are you good?
Well, I wanted to ask you, coming off the Georgia game, which I happened to watch, how I would think you guys are riding a wave of confidence right now.
Well, obviously that was a big win to get a road win, and this conference is incredibly difficult. Georgia was 7-0 and had a lot of confidence going in that game, and they have some older guys, so they're kind of a veteran crew because of the graduate transfers they brought in this year. So that was a very big win for us, and obviously that was good for our confidence to play as well as we did on the road.
Thanks.
We'll go ahead and swing it over to Paul Jones. Paul, go ahead.
Coach, the other night against Georgia, they did a good job of not letting Tolu Smith get in good position in the post, and I'm sure that was part of their game plan with the way Tolu's played this year. Moving forward, I know you want to see him get involved, but how much confidence do they give your other offensive players knowing they can still get the job done when other teams focus on Tolu?
Yeah, I think, our guard play and our ability to shoot the ball, in particular, Davon Smith came off and really, I think, played great for us in that first half with 13 points with Iverson in foul trouble. His offensive lift was huge in that first half. And then, I just thought that, we had good balance on the perimeter. We had 4 guards in double figures, if I'm not mistaken, in that game. And so that was huge for us. And they obviously zoned quite a bit. So we shot well from 3. I think we were 12 for 27 from the three-point line, which was the best we've shot this year. And that bodes well. And when you consider that Iverson's shooting 51% and DJ's shooting 47% from 3, those are good numbers.
We'll go ahead and get into Courtney Rock. Courtney, go ahead for Coach.
Coach, we talked about the other day, or you mentioned how Kentucky maybe could have won a couple more games, and they've played some close games. Just initially from watching whatever film you may have, what do you feel like your team really needs to do to pull off a win against Kentucky this weekend? Well,
number one, we've got to do a great job of transition defense. I think we've got to do better than we did in our game at Georgia, which was a huge part to what they try to do. And Kentucky's great out in transition on made and missed shots. They really push it on made shots, and they really push it on missed shots. And they get out, they advance the ball really well with the pass, they attack the rim. Mintz is very good pulling up from 3 out there. Askew does a good job pushing. Their bigs really run the floor hard. So we've got to do a great job there. They're a very good offensive rebounding team. They really do a great job at crashing the glass, as they have always. This year, no exception. And we're going to have to do a good job blocking them out, keep them off the glass. And then we've got to play good half-court defense and try to, limit their open shots and their open looks. And they've got, very good players and very good scheme.
We'll get it back to Jerry, and then we'll go to Joel. And just a reminder, go ahead and cue those questions up in the chat for us. Jerry, go ahead.
Yeah, Ben, I noticed that you guys had a couple of games where free throw shooting, you could have won maybe a couple more with better free throw shooting. What's going on there? Where are you guys at with that?
We shot it over 70% the other night. We spent a lot of time on it. We had 2 games, Clemson and Dayton, where if we shoot the ball well from the foul line, we have a chance to win both those games, certainly against Dayton and possibly against Clemson. But we've spent a lot of time on it, and I'm confident that we'll shoot well moving forward from the foul line because we're spending a lot of time on it every day.
And one other one for me, what the TV announcers for the Georgia game were talking about your 2 starting guards, Iverson and DJ, is perhaps the best backcourt in the conference. What do you think of that?
Well, they're definitely going to be up there, in my opinion. They're very good players and just sophomores. Really good at both ends of the floor, too. When you talk about good players, they're good defensively and they're good offensively. They shoot the ball well. It's a credit to their work ethic. Both those guys spend an incredible amount of time working at their game, working at their shot, and they're super talented, really good athletes. So that's a really nice compliment. I didn't hear that, and I'm glad that they're getting that recognition. But the bottom line is you got to go out and prove it every day. So, we got to prove it tomorrow.
Joel, go ahead.
And I guess it's small sample size at this point because you've only been on the road in the SEC once so far this year. But just curious how much of a factor you think it's going to be this year, whether it's you guys on the road or whether it's Kentucky coming into Starkville. This in the fan thing, there being very little fans in attendance. Just it's always tough to win on the road in the SEC. It's always been the case. But does that kind of negate that a little bit by not having packed houses?
Yeah, I think that there's definitely an element that makes it where it's less advantageous at home now when you don't have your big, wild crowd with all the noise and energy in the building that you normally have. It's still an advantage to be at home, to be sleeping in your bed the night before the game and to be playing on the, the floor that you're used to and in your locker room, etc. But it definitely, evens it up a little bit more in terms of home and away. So you have a better chance maybe now to win on the road, and you have less of an advantage at home because you don't have that loud crowd. And, there's some great home courts in this conference.
We've got time for a couple more. Let's swing it back to Paul Jones. Paul, go ahead.
Coach, back to DJ Stewart and his play this year and really last year too. Obviously, like all players, he goes through some shooting slumps, but it doesn't affect how aggressive he is on offense and really doesn't affect the way he plays on defense. Seems like he has that even keel approach that we saw a lot from Q when he was here. Do you see similarities there?
Yeah, he's very, number one, he's confident. He knows that he's a good player. He believes in himself. He spent a lot of time. You get confidence from hard work. You get confidence from, thousands of repetitions. And he's done all the work. And he's just incredibly talented. He's a really good athlete. He's got a 7-foot wingspan. He's very good defensively. He's a good passer. He's very unselfish. He's all about winning. That's what I love about him. He does whatever it takes to help his team win. He's a great kid.
We'll swing it back to Courtney. Courtney, go ahead.
Coach, Abdul had a great defensive game the other night. You've mentioned that, but is that kind of the role you're looking for him to continue throughout the rest of the season, is having that strong defensive performance?
Absolutely. He had 3 blocks the other night. We got the stats corrected. They had him down for 1 after the game, and we're watching the game film going, well, there's 2 on 1 play. So he actually had 3 blocks, did a great job plugging up the middle of the floor, changing shots. And he's one of the best defenders in our league, and I really hope he gets some recognition for that because he really plugs up the middle for us and does a great job in ball screen actions and matching up typically with the other big man's, from the other team's best player.
And we'll go ahead and wrap it up with Jerry one more time. Jerry, go ahead.
Yeah, Ben, I think I know how you're going to answer this, but after the Louisville game, John Calipari said that, they're 1-6 and future opponents, and he mentioned the league in particular, see blood in the water, that this is a chance to, to beat Kentucky. How do you respond to that?
You know what? I know, and I explained this to our team, that John's telling his team the non-conference is over. This is a whole new season. In fact, this is a new year, literally and figuratively. They will be very ready to play tomorrow. And we understand they're very talented. They're very well coached. And we're going to have to play our very best to have success against Kentucky. And we understand that. And I think everybody in our conference does as well.
Thanks, Ben.
You bet.